I got commissioned to do his portrait, and because I knew because I'm a generation before him, so I knew all of the big players in the Bristol graffiti scene. So when I got commissioned to do his portrait, I just made like one phone call, sorted it out, and it was done. So it was kind of.
That means that you have a photo of him.
I've got lots of pictures of him.
3 years ago, in October 2018, a painting by Banksy, Girl with Balloon, was partly shredded in front of the eyes of a gaping auction audience and a crowd of experts in Sotheby's sale room at New Bond Street in Mayfair, London. A few months later, I met one of the few who actually knows Banksy's true identity. Since then, a lot happened to the auction market for street art in general, and for the art world's most well-kept secret in particular.
I kind of forget because I was there every step of the way. So recently I archived my photo collection because everything was shot on negative back then. So a lot of it I hadn't seen for like 15, 20 years. And I started dropping things out on Instagram. And then I suddenly started realising, oh fuck, it's like most of the kids looking at this weren't even fucking born when I was taking it. So I think it's important to give people an idea of how it was and what it was. And it was a very different time than it is now, where he was painting sort of free and unfettered, and it was kind of an easier time. So, and you know, there's a lot of screen prints there, but that's because I think it's one of his most important bits of his whole career, even more than the originals. Like everyone's like, I want to see loads of originals. And I'm like, that's not, you know, we made the screen prints to make cheap, affordable art for the masses. And that's really his whole ethos. You know, it costs 35 quid for an unsigned print and 150 for a signed print. If you bought the original Girl in Balloon canvas from me, would have cost you 250 quid. So it's that whole thing where people, you know, I try and explain to people, because sometimes people are like, oh, there's not enough originals in. You know, like, listen, if this was like a Basquiat show with 20 originals in and 60 screen prints, you wouldn't say anything. Same with someone like Herring. And it's an incredibly important part of his career. You know, he must have made, I was trying to work out the other day, but you know, there's probably 30 to 40,000 prints out there that he made over the years.
So there were no limits.
No, because we had no idea what we were doing. So you know, some of the original ones, it was like, you know, we were doing print runs of 750. So you know, there's quite a lot of shit. There's quite a lot of shit out there. And
what's the quality then? Because I mean, normally sometimes the quality gets worse and worse.
Not really, because it's like I think, you know, that was true.
Like ages ago.
So you know, maybe 100 years ago or 50 years ago, but I never seen a single bit of difference between number one and number 750. You know, the quality of the prints wasn't that great at the beginning. We paid, if they cost more than £2 each, we didn't do it because they were too expensive.
So there was almost a copy.
Well, no, the guy that did them used to print taxi flyers in Birmingham. So, but like I said, I think that's an incredibly important part of his career.
I mean, so obviously his idea was to make affordable art for the people.
Which spectacularly backfired.
Exactly.
But that was nothing to do with us. That was driven. Like we still kept the prices down on the prints, even when, because the original enemy number one was eBay. So we once timed it, right? So we didn't release an image of the artwork, right? And we timed it. Guy had already written the thing for it. And it was up on eBay in under 2 minutes from when it was bought to when it was on eBay. So we'd still sell them at like 150, knowing full well the next day they'd be selling for a couple of grand. Now people forget that Banksy didn't benefit. Everyone thinks about Banksy's benefited from all this. So a Girl in Balloon canvas that's now £800,000, he made 200 quid from.
Exactly.
You know, it's that kind of, it's that thing. So I think it's important for people to realise that and understand the whole print process and how it was done. And like I said, I think that's a very, very, very important part of who he was.
Yeah. But what about then? I mean, it's not to be rude here, but you are now selling the prints, the original work by him.
Okay, why not?
Exactly, for quite a lot of money then.
Well, I don't do as much as I did, and there's, you know, I'm just one of like 1,000 people worldwide that are doing it. So yes, I'm the #1 expert, but I haven't really been involved in sales for many, many years. So it's not something.
But how does he see it? Because I mean, is he upset about it?
I've no idea.
Because you're not friends anymore.
No, and the thing is, it's like he made his money at the time, which at the time was good money for him. If he's now doing a painting that's coming out of the studio, he ain't selling it for 250 quid. So he's caught up with where the market is. So and that's his thing. It's kind of what everyone. You can't be upset if you. It's like if you sold a vintage car 10 years ago, and it suddenly came. And say you sold an E-Type Jag for 30 grand like 15 years ago, but now it sells for 350 grand.
Obviously,
that's your. You know, that's down to you. At the time, you were happy to receive 30 grand for it. It's not like you sold it for 30 grand, but it was worth 350,000 at the same time. That's a different thing. Whereas with this, it's kind of, you know, he got the money that he wanted for those works at that point in time. So,
but what about? I mean, you said the studio.
Yeah.
Can I go there to buy something?
I've no idea. I've never been.
No.
So,
you've never been.
Yeah, but
because he's
going off the way it worked in the past. He will have a studio, but he'll just do like he did with me, and he'll have set up a front person to run it and vet whoever it is. And you know, I don't. To be honest, it's hard for me to talk about it because I don't really know what the process is there now. So I'd be giving, you know, disinformation. I don't honestly know. Like, I know they do it. The mechanics of how they do it, I have no idea.
Okay, so Banksy is obviously one of the most sought after artists on Barnaby's. Our site that I have, which is a search service.
You should speak to me more often.
Yeah, I should. No, but which is a search service for arts, design, antiques, collectibles like the AR types or whatever it is. But Barnaby's is really, Banksy is really one of the most sought after artists. So why do you think Banksy's art has become that popular?
It's hard to explain, but it was always popular from when it was 250 quid. So it's been popular with different stratas of society, as his career's gone on. But saying that, you know, you had early adopters, you know, people that we had no idea who they were. You know, I'd never studied art, I'd never gone to art college, I didn't ever work in an art gallery. We just made shit up as we went along. But a lot of the people that came in to buy stuff off us, we didn't realise at the time, were huge collectors. They were coming in and buying it 250 quid because they liked it. And then as the years have gone by, it's become more and more popular, and I think it's got to that stage, as you are hugely aware, where certain clients come in and go, I'll have a Hearst, I'll have a thing, I'll have a thing. They come in with their shopping list. It doesn't necessarily say what they want, other than the name of the artist.
Sometimes don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's just like...
So, and I think it's moved into that area. And if you want my honest opinion, you know, everyone is waiting for the floodgates to open. The floodgate, like that. I think we are at an impasse at the moment.
What do you mean by
think
contemporary art or
his work. I think the price at the moment is stuck. Because no one's willing to sell. And you think if you're the thing is now, if you paid £1 million for a canvas, and you could afford to spend £1 million for a canvas, it's probably not the only £1 million canvas you own. So what would motivate you to buy? If I came and offered you 1.2, I'm not even taking it off the wall. 1.5, maybe. 2, maybe if I double my money. 2.5, 3, and that's the stage it's getting to, where people are asking 3 to 5 million for canvases. And there's no precedent for it selling at that price, but they won't sell for any less. So there's less and less works at the moment trading. There's not been a significant piece in auction ever So and the auction houses are way behind what the private sales are. So that's why no one's taking it to an auction house.
But this is interesting. So you mean no of the best works has been to auction yet?
Never. There's not been one significant piece of his sold at auction.
So,
and like I said, the trouble with auction is, you know how this works. It's kind of, you know, a lot of these people, you know, they ain't selling it for less than in the mill. So they're going to the auction house, and the auction house is giving them 300 to 500. Well, that's a long shot for that to get up to $1 million. Like, that really has to build up pace to get to $1 million. Like, you know, you have good days and bad days, but you know, that's Russian roulette. So unless the auction houses like guarantee something for someone or put some big prices on it, can't see it going. But the trade on the kind of secondary market is red hot. Yeah, there's some of it is just lunacy. Like 150 grand for a girl in blue signed screen print. You're like, it's a piece of fucking paper, of which another 149 people have exactly the same one, and 600 other people have an unsigned one. You know, you could buy a canvas for less. So
was that how it worked? He signed just a few of them? Or?
He'd do like edition runs of, like, we do like, this is going early, where you do like 600 unsigned and 150 signed.
Okay.
But at the beginning, we couldn't sell the signed ones for shit. People are like, I'm not paying an extra. Who does he think he is? We just couldn't sell them. It took us years to get people to buy the signed ones.
But what is your story then? I mean, you say we. I mean, were you like brothers once upon a time?
Kind of. It's like I pretty much ran the commercial side of it. So, like pictures on walls. I dealt with all the sales of the paintings, the infrastructure. So that was kind of my end of it. I was the front person, pretty much.
But were you also, do you have a background as a street artist? Or?
No, I was a photographer. So, but I'd been, you know, I know pretty much all the major players in the game. I've been, you know, I exist through subculture. So, you know, I was a skateboarder, then I was into, probably from the age of 13, 14 in Bristol. I've documented the whole Bristol graffiti scene. I did it at college. I knew all the writers then. Then when it got to the mid-90s, a guy called Mode 2 we used for like the magazine. Mode was like legendary. He did the front cover for Spray Can Art when he was a kid. Then through him I got to know a bunch of other people I know, and then there was kind of almost a Freemasonry of us in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, you know, I gave JR his first ever exhibition, so I know JR really well. I funded one of his projects in the early days. I gave Veals his first exhibition. I gave Invader the exhibition. So I know, I know all the top guys in the game, basically. So I've been there for years.
Were people coming to Bristol because that was like the place to be at that time?
At that time, it was kind of, it wasn't like that then. It was kind of, you know, it was mainly local rather than international. And it wasn't until years later that, you know, people were dropping into London rather than Bristol, because at that point it was the epicenter of the graffiti world. So yeah, it was an interesting time, and it's, you know, and it's not just like Banksy who's starting to do well price-wise. You've got, you know, people like Invader. You know, JR's got a pretty healthy market. It's, you know, the guys it's like every other movement. It's like the guys at the top are doing well. Everyone else is not doing well, but there's a reason for that.
If it's a soccer player or artist,
you've only ever got like 5, maybe 10 if you're lucky, kind of players in any movement. So, but yeah, it's been a wild trajectory. I found a picture the other day, which is, I lived in Brixton, and there's a picture, like, I couldn't get a decent photograph of one of his big oil paintings, so I hung it on my back fence, and took pictures of it on the back fence. And I took a picture of it the other day, and I'm like, I found the picture, like, fuck me, that painting's worth more than the whole houses. So yeah, it's been.
But you still have it, no?
No, I don't. I have very few pieces nowadays.
So those pieces that are on the exhibition,
it's come from a kind of quite a diverse group of collectors. I've got quite a few kind of prints in there that I still have, and then all of the photography is all mine.
So they're not for sale?
No, well, you know, on that Gagosian level, I'm assuming that nothing's for sale.
Especially your prints.
unless it's for the right price. So, but no.
Banksy's identity is one of the most well-kept secrets in the art world. How come it hasn't been revealed?
Because people don't want it to be. The people, the general public, built a folk hero based around the anonymous character. Nobody wants it.
No, because then it's not
then
as interesting and the price
it's like telling a 5-year-old that Santa Claus isn't real. It's like, it was different at the beginning, and we got hounded by the press for probably the first, like, 2 or 3 years, like, unbelievably aggressively. For, like, the Daily Mail were on our case, like, non-stop. And then it just but then it just dropped off, and suddenly I think the journalists suddenly realised that
it's better for them.
Harrand, if we say Dave Smith, age 22 from Brighton, it's not quite the same ring as the anonymous artist back there. You know, it just so then it kind of all dropped away, and then we put out so many like false stories that I honestly think that if he stood up today and tried to out himself, people would just go, nah, that's not him. It's not Banksy. You're taking the piss. So, yeah.
But what about when you say you, then you were like a group of 5, 10, 15 people?
No, there was a few of us. It was kind of, you know, it was a revolving crew, but I reckon probably... Yeah, between 5 and 10 people at any one time.
Because I guess when Daily Mail came there, they would say, well, you get...
They just come and see me because no one knew. They didn't,
the others were.
I was the front man, so you know, no one got past me, basically.
But is one of the reasons why you are anonymous as a street artist because you don't want to get, how do you say, trapped by the police?
The thing is, I think everyone kind of thinks it was this genius marketing concept. It wasn't. It was just, you know, it was him trying to protect himself, and then I think it was just something that stayed, and you just never, you know, you just never kind of wanted to change it. I think, you know, I just think people should respect it and just leave him be. His art speaks for it. He gives his presence to the world. It's like, why should he reveal his face? If you don't want him, you don't want him.
So can you see, I mean, the whole movement with street art is obviously to make it affordable but even more public, like that. So can you see conflict moving the street art to galleries? Is like
no, and I'll tell you why. Most of the generation that I work with, have never taken sponsorship, have no benefactors, so if they didn't make and sell work, almost all of them self-fund their projects, and they self-fund their projects off the work that they sell. So let's draw this to a logical conclusion. If they didn't do that, then the only people that could ever be artists would be the sons and daughters of the rich. It's kind of, so you can't knock it for the guys, and it's like, if this was any other industry or anything else, the question would never even be asked. And I find that it's wrong. You know, they spend their time giving cities gifts, but then vilified for selling art. It's like, come on, do me a favour. And they're self-funding and everything else into bigger and bigger projects and reinvest their money. And it's, you know, they're not, you know, a lot of these guys are not interested in money. That's not why they went into
drive. Is it political or is
some of it's political, some of it's just that old adage about street art, which is just being art. You know, I've been in more places, in more cities than anyone else. You know, that's quite often their driving motive. And then the rest of them, I think, you know, generally have something to say. Or they're batshit crazy, like Invader. It's just like, mate, you're mental.
How do you see the difference between the, like, in New York street art scene from the early days?
Well, I'm studying it. I'm doing this at the moment. So it was a time and a place where probably realistically started probably late 60s. So looking maybe 68, 69. By 1971, it was the first time that the police had referred to it as graffiti. By 1974, there was a book made called The Faith of Graffiti that had a 12-page article by Norman Mailer about graffiti. So that's how big it had become by 74. Yeah, then it moves on, and then it caps out in 89. Because by the time and this is more me talking about train painting than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and those guys are the unsung heroes. Those are the guys that deserve all the plaudits because they championed an art form that was so powerful, it changed the aesthetic of every village, town and city in the world. Yeah, and it did. It's undeniable. So then you move on and people start working on walls and everything else and it changes a bit. And, you know, I think it was still staying fairly pure up until the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe a bit later. And then, you know, and I'm as much to blame as anyone else in this. Yeah, it's like the commercialisation started to begin. And now I'm not sure what I think about it now. So there's still people that are going out there and doing it for the right reasons. I think Banksy still does. But I think people entering into the scene are coming into it because they want to make money. And like, you know, these guys were never, they were in it for shits and giggles. It was kind of, they were driven.
Or the drill about the police.
It was a calling for them to go and do it. Whereas I'm just not sure that's
I saw on
Instagram
yesterday a girl that was on a concert with a punk band.
Yeah. Pussy Riot?
No. Those they're playing, they're like, the youngest was 13, the one 15. It's like punk. To me, that was like 77. It was like Sex Pistols and Baggrön here in Sweden. You know, so it's like totally different. Which work of him would you say is the most central in his production? I mean, is there one? You know,
it's very difficult because it changes over time. It's like the imagery, the perception of the imagery changes. So Girl in Blue was never the most popular screenplay. It was Laugh Now, but One Day We'll Be in Charge. And for
that
me,
was too kind of cheesy as a screenplay, I guess.
But for me, I think Laugh Now, but One Day We'll Be in Charge is probably my favourite image, and I think it says the most about him and his career.
Okay. And the girl with the balloon, I mean, that went crazy on the auction. Is it actually possible to plan a thing like that without having someone from the inside? It is. Oh yeah.
We did loads of shit like that over the years. It's definitely possible.
Okay, so do you enjoy carry the secret with you? Or can it be also like...
no, it's just I've been doing it for 20 years. It's it's a pretty easy thing to bat away. It's just like, what?
And for him, I guess it's the same. How do you see the fact that people are stealing his art now? Like,
I think it's morally reprehensible. The thing is, it's like him and the rest of the artists are putting those works on the street, and I go back to what I said earlier, that's a gift to the people of that city. That is for everybody to enjoy, not for one entrepreneur to chop it out and sell it to someone. It's not designed for one person's enjoyment. So it's wrong.
But let's say I had a shopping mall. And I want Basquiat to do the walls on inside, not to make money of it, but to give it to the people, my clients in the.
That's never going to happen. It's never like that's not the way they work. No. It's like
I guess,
it's their ball game.
Good. But who will be the next Banksy according to you when it comes to street art?
I don't think there will. I think he's one of those once in a generation artists. I don't, I can't see. Well, actually, that's not fair because you've got someone like Shepard Fairey that's probably got not far off on that worldwide fame. I think JR will go on to be a huge artist. Well, to be fair, he already is. It's like that's the Louvre he's done twice now. So I think that it's hard to see what's coming next. I'm pretty good at identifying trends normally, whether it's like music or there. And I can't see anything at the moment. not just with this, but I can't see anything like within the art world. Like when was the last movement you saw?
Yeah.
You had the YBAs. You had the that shit show out of New York with all the kind of like Nate, what's his name? Nate Lohman. And the guy that did the bubblegum paintings, it's just like the hipsters doing their stuff. Yeah. But that lasted what 18 months before it disappeared. But like, I've not seen any sustainable movement coming from anywhere. So, but I think it goes in waves. I was talking to someone about this earlier. You know, art was new rock and roll at the point that Banksy was hitting his fame. You had Damien Hirst, Tracy Emin. Those guys were in the paper like every fucking week, and then. But music was on its ass. Yeah. And now I think music's come up and art's dropped down. Yeah. So I think it just, I think there's a natural sort of rhythm to the whole thing where, you know, where I think creative people gravitate towards different things.
Yeah, that's true. So, no, and I think also with Instagram, I think it's like, we should talk about something called like Instart or something like that. It's because it's like the things that is displayed in this
that
small
size,
area. Yeah, exactly. That works, and it works for the audience today, kind of. So no, that's strange. Okay, so and what do you say about the? Well, we talked a little bit about this, but what do you say about the art prices for the prices for street art today at auctions? And
I think it's where it should be. I think you know it's earned its right to be there. I don't think there's any.
It's like the market decides.
Yeah, it's just like, the thing is, it's like it's not us that are dictating it. It's kind of this is forces outside of our control that are coming to those prices, and you know it's that old adage, isn't it? It's worth whatever someone's willing to pay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you think Banksy changed the general view of street art? I mean,
he's popularised it, but I think that's not just him. Again, I think you got here. Shepard Fairey designed a poster that got a black man voted into the presidency of America. It's kind of there's a lot of things that have contributed towards it. It's not just him, but yes, he's been very helpful in it. But he's vastly different to most street art, as is Shepard Fairey, as is JR, as is Veals, and that's why they're at the top of the game. They're not just doing the same shit that was being done on trains in New York in 1989. They're innovators, and I think that's the shit that comes to the top at the end of the day.
Well, would you describe his art like poetic or political, or?
I think it's a very simplistic message, shot through with a hint of politics and humour. And that's always been his thing.
And also, in my opinion, it's also more. Sometimes when you get street art, a lot of the elder generation or whoever it is says, well, this is not art because this is more.
Well, that's the art world's problem.
Exactly. No, I agree, but still with his art, it's kind of a combination. Of
but it's like no one now refers to Keith Haring as a street artist.
Exactly. Yeah.
No one refers to Basquiat as a graffiti. It's
not
that
today,
thing.
No.
It's like the art.
But everyone wants actually to say that they're born on the street like that. But but I agree with you. They're not included. So, but are you still a photographer?
Not so much. Do you know what? It's funny. Like I've just picked up a camera again.
Oh yeah.
So it's been a while, and it wasn't
an analog one or?
Yeah, no, I've got a digital Leica.
Yeah.
So, but it was only looking back at the stuff I did because I'm not very confident with what I do. So I never thought it was particularly good, and then looking back on it, I'm like, actually that wasn't bad. I might actually start again. So I'm going to start going around and doing portraits of all the artists I know, taking pictures of the studio, and spend some time and just having some fun with it.
Good. But otherwise, you are a gallery owner today.
Not so much. I'm back really putting together like the big travelling shows.
Okay.
I'm doing like stuff that's more. I think I describe myself now as a kind of subculture curator.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I understand. I know
that can include music.
Yeah. So and a combination of everything. So I'm working on a few projects that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
So who is Banksy? Will we ever know?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
we won't.